Hello, everyone. Welcome to Going 19, episode 59. Today is our third and final discussion on Wind Through the Keyhole, the eighth book in the Dark Tower series that is set at 4.5 between Wizarding Glass and Wolves of the Calla. I am Ed. With me are Allie and Ember. Let's start the show.
I like how the you can tell when the thing's walking, like it like eh, so every time he changes, does he change into like 8 different animals? And can he then stop at any one of those stages? Because when they show the footprints, it's like it doesn't go from like, wolf to human. It goes from, wolf to cat to something smaller and then a human.
Well, he changes suddenly into the snake, doesn't he?
At the end or at the confrontation, yeah.
Maybe he
Yeah, he
just
just
like
changes.
he can't make up his mind.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like
Well, it
Wonder
also,
Twin Powers.
and again, I don't know if this is part of that sequence, but when the head came off of it, it started like growing wolf feet and fur and stuff. So, but I don't know if that's, it losing control because it no longer has a brain controlling it, or if that was just part of the sequence and it just didn't get far enough in it.
Wait. What didn't have a brain?
The skin changer.
As it was dying.
Oh, what?
Because it started morphing into other things.
Like a chicken running with its head cut off.
It ended up being human again by the time it died, right?
The head.
Well, the body stayed a snake?
The body was like wolf feet, human fur, and scales.
It's all confused. Yeah, okay. Oh, it's like the system just went out of control and just started morphing into a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
It could be. It'd be hard to track something like that. Huh? So then they find, Bill Streeter under the attack, and Roland's like, "Great, we have a witness, so we'll just use him as bait." Little Roland. At one point, he calls him. He says something about how Jamie, who was still carried his virginity in his pocket and was not wise to the ways of women, or something like that. I'm like, yeah, Mister just got laid for the first time, like last month.
Well, the only thing I would say is that it was mentioned at the beginning that he was still a virgin because Roland asked him, "What does my dad mean when he said that these women like their stick or whatever?"
The long stick, I think is what they call it.
And then Jamie was like, "Oh, you don't know what that means? I thought you had sex."
I thought that was actually fun. Yeah, and then Roland's like, "Well, Jamie doesn't know anything. He's never been with a woman."
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like they would both probably have known what that was for a long time and giggled about it incessantly.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I'm sure. Like, no matter what people talk, but it's not exactly like it was covered in their gunslinger training. I'm sure.
Like, young Bill, he's like, "Can I hold one of your guns for a minute?" And he's like, "Never in life, but you can look at one of them if you want, or you can look at a bullet if you want." But I thought that was what he's like. "Can I hold one of your guns?" Like, "Never in life." Let's just take that off the table. Is that a thing? Does he say that to everybody? Well, he gives them out to Eddie and Susanna.
Yeah.
Does anybody else? Well, I guess he doesn't know anybody else. So nobody else.
Doesn't Susan hold them at some point? Or does
the other?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He holds them in that she like brings them to him. I don't think she
doesn't shoot it. I know, but still, she touches it.
Well, I don't know how I feel about her. I feel like he should have left her as part of the quartet, and just let her die instead of saying, "Well, we weren't going to be with her anyway, so screw it, she can die." Because now I'm like, oh, well, okay. I don't know if she should have. Like, I was going to say, she was rolling. in the quartet, so she's allowed to touch the guns. But was she at that point?
Do people in the quartet sometimes die?
So far,
Well,
yes.
besides Susan, like
Everyone in that particular quartet is dead except for one person.
well, okay, that's true. But I mean, at the time of the quartet,
Weren't they still quartet when they died? Like him and Cuthbert and Elaine?
well,
Yeah.
not according to like this definition. It's like it seems to be a like mission by mission type thing.
No, I think him and Elaine were a more permanent quartet than a mission to Magus or.
I just don't know
Susan.
if I agree with that.
Okay.
But I forgot
Um,
what the point was.
he was talking about Susan in the book.
Oh yeah. Oh,
But-
that's what I was saying. So has anyone who was part of the quartet, like at the time, died yet, except for Susan? I don't think so.
Not that we've
nah.
seen.
Oh well, actually, Jack Mort was part of their quartet, and he died.
Yeah, that was weird. How?
Well, we
I
don't.
was,
He wasn't really.
No, he
quartet
was.
then.
It said specifically that they were in a quartet because I remember thinking that was super weird, and that's not what I thought quartet meant.
right. I had the same problem. Like, so apparently, it's not my inner circle of besties
That's
that
what
I
makes
can't
me
live
think
without.
it's more mission to mission versus like lifelong ties.
I think it's well. Yeah, I didn't see it that way. I saw it as intertwining lives as opposed to like you would think the influences of most of your quartet are good influences, but I think it's the good and the bad that your lives intertwine with.
I mean,
Jack-
Walter was a part of that quartet as well, so
Right. And Jack definitely intertwined with their lives in many, many ways. You could say it was all about him for at least the drawing of the three.
yeah. I still think the third door should have been him.
It was until it wasn't, right?
It's just said
Well, the third
death.
door was him. What do you mean?
Well, okay, sure, but it wasn't technically the third person drawn. Was according to Stephen King was 2 and 3 were Odetta or Susanna. I don't know.
According to Stephen King, it was Jake was the third.
No, he at the beginning of one of them, I think it was the Wastelands. He says it was
the real third.
Yeah, it
of the
was like
Wasteland.
I can't remember. I have to look at it, but I remember it saying the doors were Eddie, Odetta, Susanna, something like that. Because I wrote it down and I was like, oh, okay, so that's what, because we had such a big discussion about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that he more or less clarified that at the start of Wastelands.
At least what he thought was clarifying, because to me, I think he's wrong. But
What does he know?
like
I know you're the author of the story, but you're wrong. I mean, then again, I do. Cuthbert. Ugh.
Well, I'm at the end of Wasteland, but it doesn't. I don't know. It's not
it's
that big a deal.
It's at the beginning of Wastelands before the story starts.
All right. Well. Okay.
I don't think that's either here or there anymore, though. We're
Yeah.
still
No,
at that
it's
point.
really not. I don't even know what our point was. So I'm going back to insert a keyhole. We keep getting off track. Might have to edit this. We got what somebody complains that we have too many gaps or something.
What?
Oh, yeah, I saw that comment. that you posted to us.
The long
I feel like
silences
that's
were
been
painfully awkward or something.
I didn't
well,
see
I feel like
that.
that's been fewer though, since I think that was on the Mayfair Witches book. Witching Hour. That's what that's called.
I also, no offense, but have you never watched a podcast before? Like, it's not. It's pretty much unedited content. Like, what do you expect?
Yeah, it's not. I don't come in with a plan. I just talk off the top of my head. So
Yeah, like we're not reading a script and we're not going back and gonna edit out all the silences. So that's kind of how a discussion goes sometimes.
yeah, and we started this for us. And I'm glad people like it. I'm
Yeah.
probably not gonna include this in there.
I agree.
But
The only thing I would say is that we definitely get off topic a lot, but whatever.
Yeah. That's
I think that's part of the fun. It's a unique experience.
it is
Speaking
cool
of
to
which,
see how many different countries listen to us though.
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
that's just Anchor. I wonder what YouTube's like. They
I
probably have.
thought that was
them
Spotify.
Anchors through Spotify.
Oh, okay.
It's a Spotify app.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So anything Anchor is Spotify. Um. I'm silent. I gotta catch my bearings again.
Yeah, I don't even
I got.
remember what we were talking about.
You're just talking about the the shapeshifter.
Changing into the different things at the end and whether that was part of the natural change or
Oh, if we went through that every time. At first, it's the cat screaming, then it changes into a human screaming. It's like a woman, but then it starts to go down until it's a man.
Go down. What does that mean?
The tone, I guess.
Oh, the scream. Oh.
Yeah, I think my head will split open, then it stops and it comes in. Oh, I guess there's a Bill talking like that. The guy calls him Size Skin Man in the spot. We have you. You don't know it yet, Size Skin Man, but we have.
Still have to be polite.
Right? Is that what that is? Because then the one kid starts to talk to him. I think the one that he sent to go make friends and spread rumors. And I don't really know what the point of that was. What purpose did that serve him? Like he sent that kid over to the miners' camp to basically tell everyone that Bill Streeter was the one that saw the Skin Man. To what purpose? Because they went out there and just told everyone they could ride a horse to come back with them anyway. So why did they need to spread rumors?
I don't know. Yeah.
I think to see if anyone would have like any reaction to that being said, like, oh my gosh, like someone actually saw me. Oh no, like I have to go run and hide, or I have to go kill him now because I have been found out.
Yeah.
Hoping someone like head for the hills,
Yeah.
like turning around in the DUI checkpoint.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it seemed kind of pointless because Jamie went. Like I kind of forgot about Jamie. It was all Roland and Bill, like with the wind through the keyhole, and then Jamie was coming back with people. I was like, oh yeah, what were they doing the whole time? So he went out there with TV, right, to get to round up anyone that could ride a horse, and they would know that. I like how Roland pokes holes in his theory and then figures them out at the same time. He's like, well, wait, why would he even admit to riding a horse? And he's like, well, we thought of that. And the mine, like the guy that owns the mine does a circus 4 times a year, and everybody who can ride a horse will because they might win money. I think something like that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking the same thing. Why would he even What did riding a horse prove? Because he left on a horse? Wouldn't everybody be able to ride a horse more or
Except
less?
because there was manure found, fresh manure. But
Maybe the Skin Man was a horse and he pooped.
that's Roland says that at the end. Is like, it never occurred to me that it could have just been like lying or something like that. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, all right, it definitely, I don't know. All right, then what was the point of that whole thing? You just wanted
Right.
to tell us the story of the wind through the keyhole.
You just needed to make the book a little bigger. So you couldn't just tell the story of Tim Stoutheart. You needed to wrap it in a blanket. Just like I was actually at Second and Charles looking for Song of Susanna because I don't have a paperback copy of it. And they, damn it, I did it again. What were we just talking about?
Yeah, I went to
Oh, they
second
had
Charles
Elevation. And Michelle was like, "Yeah, that's a short book for Stephen King. It looks really little." I'm like, "Yeah, that's a weird one."
Yeah.
He just kind of floats on by.
Yeah.
But I always said that it's like a 20-page short story that they made really small and cut up into like, what is it, 100 and some pages.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
It's like did he stop writing short stories? I'm pretty sure.
Right. It's not like he needs more money.
Yeah, like why didn't they just put that in a book of short stories that's going to come out sooner or later? Although it has been a while since he's done one, hasn't it?
Allie, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just saying like your dad was saying that he went to Second and Charles to look for Song of Susanna, and I went to Second and Charles and McKay's to look for Wind Through the Keyhole, and neither of them had it. I was like, damn it,
Oh, McKay's didn't have it?
no. And they both have huge sections for Stephen King. I was surprised, but I ended up getting it off Amazon.
I still love McKay's. Well, that's my thing. I have a hardback that I'm not going to mark up upstairs, and I have it on the tablet. So I'm like, do I really? This would be a new thing for me. I've never not had a copy of the book and just went electronic. Not sure how I feel about that. I have went through the keyhole sitting here, and I haven't even opened it yet. So I don't think I need to buy it necessarily, but if they had it, I was going to get it. And actually, yeah, the way I'm doing the reading now makes it so much easier because I don't have to take any extra time. I just do it while I'm doing something I was already doing. Kind of cool. So I also like how the two deputies like take one look at Roland and they're like, "Fuck you, you little brat! Don't come in here barking orders."
Well, I mean, let's not forget, 15?
Yeah. And how
Yeah,
they're
but they gotta
constantly referred
know.
to as the not so good deputies.
Right. They clearly haven't been holding up their end of the bargain, and they got to know who his dad is, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, nepotism doesn't affect everybody.
Well, that's true. I guess you still got to prove yourself. They were instantly like, nope, this kid is not like. I can just picture him like sitting in the chair with the boots up on the desk, like, who the hell are you? We don't take orders from you. And I think the sheriff's like, are you two idiots that fucking dumb that you don't know who's in charge?
The only other thing I'll say too is like, again, reading this right after Wizard and Glass, it's kind of like flashbacks, like to Hambry.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, the people in the town.
Yeah, just like, I know that's a very brief part of it, but like, sheriff not taking him seriously and like not being good at their job.
Yeah. When the big coffin hunters like underestimating them because they're young and they think they're like naive.
Yeah.
So he's telling the story of the Wind Through the Keyhole because they have time to kill because they're waiting for the miners to come back. Is that right?
Yeah, to figure out who can ride and not.
Okay. I'm like,
Right.
well, why are they like staying up all night? Just go. Oh, wasn't that a thing? Like they couldn't sleep or something?
That's why I said he just needed an excuse to tell the Wind Through the Keyhole story, and it's not really a good one.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it wasn't
I
even
like.
an all-night story. It was like the one through the keyhole. Roland was supposed to have told Bill in a matter of like an hour or two,
Yeah.
and it was the full story of like the skin changer and the wind through the keyhole that Roland told like overnight during the Stark Blast.
Right. His Wind Through the Keyhole.
He told the story of him telling the story of telling the story of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jeez. Uh, but there's no Stark Blast or anything in. The only Stark Blast is the one where Eddie and Susanna are, right?
Well, that's why I
Well,
think
no,
it's
there's
funny
the one in the wind through the
Oh
keyhole.
no, yeah, and went through the keyhole. There is one.
that he's reminded of this story with Jamie DeCurry because of the Stark Blast, because he told the story of the Wind Through the Keyhole during this time, not because there was a Stark Blast.
Yeah. That was just like a
But in the
windstorm.
story that but in the story that the Stark Blast reminded him of, there is a Stark Blast in that. Jesus.
No, I think the Stark Blast reminded him of the story of Jamie DeCurry and the Skin Man because when that happened, he told the story of the Wind Through the Keyhole in which there's a Stark Blast.
Right, that's what I was saying. Right.
Okay.
Got it.
God, that
makes
is
my head hurt.
convoluted.
Yeah, I wonder if he like
You
was
know,
even drinking that day.
it does make a little bit more sense maybe why, like if that was most of his familiarity with Stark Blast, maybe that's why it took him a little longer to remember, because it wasn't anything that happened to him.
Right. He just, well, and I mean, he obviously knew what a Billy Bumbler was,
Yeah, that's true.
but if he had never, well, no, because I guess he did say that they used to have it in Gilead because he was talking about people dying in the fields from a Stark Blast.
Yeah.
But I guess he never had a Billy Bumbler to tell them that it was coming. I don't know.
Yeah. Not confusing at all.
Need a couple Throckins.
Is that their only purpose, like to warn them of the Stark Blast?
And to be cute and sound like people.
Yeah. Sound like old grumpy men.
Hold it. Eight. Well, yeah, so then we get to the actual Wind Through the Keyhole. Did I just hear you say it's not a good story? You didn't like it?
No,
Yeah,
who said that?
The story said something.
No, I said it's not a good reason to tell the story.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's not a good setup, but whatever. It's a good story.
Yeah. Well, like the story is fun and entertaining. It's just seems kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Other than, well, I guess because anytime you hear, well, I guess it's for them once upon a by, basically once upon a time. That's
Right.
supposed to be just like a fairy tale or myth, but it sounds like this is a story that actually happened that was just written down.
Well,
I mean, isn't that how most of them start?
right. I was going to say.
I don't know.
Most legends or fairy tales are rooted in some kind of truth. Blown way out of proportion, but
I think it's a lot easier to believe that this is true because we've seen so many other magical things happen already. So, but it could very well be a fairy tale.
Yeah. It just, like the note signed RFMV, like that's people that we're actually dealing with in the story.
That's true. That's a very specific part.
Yeah. So I'm like,
maybe he's that old.
I guess.
And we also learned about the Crimson King. So it's just like, but again, if you think about it, this was written after everything is already done. So he's just throwing these in as like Easter eggs.
This is a whole book full of Easter eggs. Is really what it is.
True.
It was like, oh yeah, and this, and this, and that. Like, what was it about this? Like, I liked the story. Like, I was thoroughly entertained. I actually like this book more than I remembered. The
Yeah.
imagery in it, some of it is just awesome. Um, but what was it about this that made him need to go back and tell it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Unless it was tying up the ends of what happened after he shot his mother, or how his mom, what all of that.
I think it was maybe tying up many ends.
Yeah. But then why go through the process of telling the Wind Through the Keyhole story? Unless like you said, it's just to make the book longer.
Right.
Yeah, he must have had that in his pocket and kind of never like worked it into the Dark Tower and finally figured out a way to do it.
Yeah.
Unless
Like,
it's tying in, showing that the Crimson King is locked in the tower or like stuck at the tower.
Right, but we already know that technically at this point. Well, we don't, but you know what I mean. Or not chronologically for when the books were written, that's not new information.
yes, but if you read,
Well, I guess I didn't know that.
But
I knew the Crimson King was at the tower, but I didn't know that he was like locked there.
This book doesn't. If it was written in the same order, then I would say yeah, that's a great piece of information for us to find out. But this was written after the fact, so you can't really I can't say that it was written to tell us he's locked in the tower, because we do find that out already. Like at some point, I don't know when, but we do find that out.
well, he may have decided that he wanted a different introduction to him being locked in the tower or something like that.
That's possible.
He may have added it in to be the introduction if you're reading it in the way you're supposed to read it.
Yeah. So you're finding out that information in the Wind Through the Keyhole story. You're finding out the tie-in for his mom in the Skin Changer story. So I guess that could be the reason for both of them.
I have to be honest, neither of those seem like a good enough reason. I'm glad the book exists. I'm not complaining about it, but it doesn't seem like a compelling enough reason to go back and write a whole story.
Yeah.
I mean, unless writing is what you do.
I was going to say, I guess that's all he does, though.
It was a slow day at the desk. He just finished Mr. Mercedes. Didn't want to stop writing yet.
And I mean, it's a wonderful story. I like you said, I loved it way more than I even remembered. So I'm not complaining at all. I'm glad it exists.
Yeah, and like the second I found out that Big Bros died, I was suspicious.
Well, seems to be a pattern.
Yeah, and I was like, it took him a long time to like be suspicious. It was like, oh, yep, it was dragons. Yep, look, see here, I got burned too.
Well,
and like nobody went out to look where it happened, to check it out, to look for his body.
Wasn't this his best friend?
Yes.
Yes, but dragon is a pretty goddamn extravagant lie, you know.
I mean, but is it don't
like they said, no one's seen dragons around here in a long time. Like,
but they still exist.
I think that makes perfect sense if you're trying to cover up a murder.
Yeah.
Because it's like people are going to believe that. I mean, and dragons are scary, so it's just going to make people afraid of that rather than focusing on the actual crime.
Well, that's probably true. Dragons, I imagine, are absolutely terrifying.
And
At least the one the Game of Thrones are.
It's not like we had all the data about crime that we do today, so like they're not going to suspect that his best friend, unless there were other hints, but that his best friend would want to murder him.
I mean, he was clearly unstable with his alcohol issues.
Yeah.
A lot of drunk people don't commit murder.
Well, but I also didn't like his reasoning of like this woman bewitched me and I had to have her, and that's the only reason I killed my best friend. Like, what?
Oh yeah, no, that's BS.
Yeah, and he even had a wife, and like she wasn't good enough. Because he kind of acted like, yeah, because he was sober for her. He wasn't gonna, ruin her memory by breaking the promise he made to her.
I
But
wonder
he
if
still cared about about Tim's mom more than her.
Yeah,
maybe Mr. MB squared has something to do with it.
Well,
maybe.
Because if he was trying to get to lure Tim in the first place, I mean,
That would be
that is
a
a really
reason.
convoluted plan, though.
I mean, he would have shown up to collect the taxes, no matter who answered the door. So he could have like done the same thing, whether it was Tim's dad or Steppa.
But that's why it doesn't make sense to why he targeted Tim.
I I don't know. Why did the witch go for Hansel and Gretel? I don't know.
Yeah. Guess we'll
I
never
guess
know.
'cause they were in the woods alone. That's actually probably a bad analogy. Um, yeah, I don't know. Because I just think he was bored because he could.
Well,
He was
right.
going
So that's what
rogue.
I'm saying is, so if Tim was his target, then maybe he got the guy to seduce his mom. It's not something he hasn't been privy to before. Breaking up parents.
Maybe he put the obsession. Is that what
Right.
you're saying?
That's what I
He
mean.
made him obsessed with her.
Yeah. Again,
Uh,
that's a little deep. Like, I don't know if it's all that, but it's possible.
you never know. That would mean he would wanted him to do this somewhere in the future. Yeah, I don't know if it's that forward thinking. Feels more like, let's see what happens when we do this.
Well, how long was Tim's dad dead? I mean, I guess that's true because they were married. I forgot about that. I thought it
Yeah.
happened like right after.
Mm, I feel like they weren't married for long though. Like max a couple months.
Yeah, I think on the timeline, it was probably like within a year after his dad died that the tax guy showed up.
So,
'Cause-
so are you saying that that Martin, the what probably happened is that Martin just knew about it and led Tim to the discovery to mess with him?
yes.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I forgot he showed up like a year later,
And
but I
not
mean,
really expecting him to live through it.
yeah, I don't know. I still wouldn't put it past him to set something like that in motion, but
Well, yeah,
but
but
that's
to
not the
what
point.
purpose?
The point was just because you were saying like, why would what's his name, the murderer, like be acting this way?
Who? Kells?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's why I was saying maybe he wasn't doing it on his own.
Yeah, because it did. I mean, especially at the end when he was saying like, "Why did I kill the old lady?" Like
Oh
he
yeah,
sounded like he was
he wasn't
going
even
insane.
sure. That's true.
I think he was drunk
Okay.
at the end when he didn't know why he was doing. That's why he couldn't
No, I
think
know,
straight.
but you could be both.
I mean, you can be crazy and drunk. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and if I
Enchanted.
so well, because they were saying it sounded like the end of the Stark blast was when he killed her because he had been hiding out in someone's barn for like a day or two. And I mean, and typically, unless you're continuously drinking, you don't stay drunk for 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say I haven't done it.
Well, I think that's the point. Or no, you're saying he
Yeah, but where
wasn't
would he have
drunk?
been getting the alcohol from? Like,
Oh, okay.
Right. Like if he was hiding in someone's barn, he wouldn't be
Oh,
continuously drinking.
now I see
So,
what you're saying. So why would he be acting like that? Yeah.
right.
maybe he had a stash, or maybe he stole someone else's stash.
Or maybe he was enchanted.
Maybe it was magic alcohol.
That's not what I meant.
It was like never ending. He only had one bottle, but it never got smaller.
Who is he? Jesus?
Hey, I mean, I like how they used to think, turning water into wine. Like, I see what you did there. I like it. Can I get maybe
No.
some whiskey next time?
Yeah. I can't remember. There's a Ari Shafir is a Jewish comedian, and his whole like newest special is about, being Jewish, and he makes
Oh, I saw that. Well, I didn't see it, but I saw of it.
I think it's his special, but he talks about how God, I wish I could remember the joke, but it's so funny that the alcohol that they choose is wine, like of all things. And I was like, of course you would.
Right.
I can't remember what the full joke is though.
Like, yeah, she wore a veil. Oh, he's talking about this teacher. She wore a veil and taught lightweight lads and even a few lassies, excuse me, how to read and practice the slightly questionable art known as mathematica.
Even a few lassies, huh? Lucky for them.
Hey, we already know this is before Gilead, so I can imagine. This is like 1,000 years before that. Thigh smack. Sounds like an insult. Well, thigh smack,
It sounds like a street name.
right? I can see like a what do you call that? A tag, graffiti tag.
Or like a wrestler.
No, yeah, that'd be a good one. Smackdown from
Come
side.
into the ring, side smack.
And he unleashes the super size smack.
Super size.
Right? The crowd goes wild. Well, I went like 20 pages without a highlight. So Tim's dad dies under, I would say, slightly questionable circumstances. And they're, I don't know how he say it, forced to into a situation that they don't want to be in because of the tax man who is Walter. I have to think about that. No, I said it out loud.
Who what? Oh yeah.
Well, it's the tax man is the reason she marries. I mean, Burn Kells, right? There's really no other reason that she would do that because it was definitely against her better judgment.
Yeah, I'd
Maybe
like to.
maybe he did manipulate that whole situation because he's the reason that it happened. What did they say? That's not what he does. That's just his hobby or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That sounds like, well, it sounds like Randall Flagg.
What's graph? There's graph at the wedding reception. Wedding reception.
that's the like combination of alcohols. They had that in Mahith.
Is that like a medieval thing?
Yeah.
Like mead?
Kind of sounds like it.
I like how several of the women who Nell counted among her friends are looking at her with expression of guarded pity. At her wedding. It's like they knew. Like she knew. And why did Amber, did you catch the reference?
Which one?
We are in the wind through the keyhole.
No. Well, what do you mean?
Shut it, woman. If you wake the boy and get him in here, I'll give you double. The crying ceased. It was a slip is all. A mistake. I went in with Melon just to have a ginger beer and hear about his new steak. I'm gonna put a glass of Jackalow in front of him. So he went in with Melon.
I don't understand.
Do you not know what that name is?
Well,
So Adrian's not our only reference anymore.
where are you?
I'm in the wind through the keyhole. I mean the actual story in the story, the story in the story, the story in the story.
So you're saying that they have the name Melon?
Yes, Steve.
Yeah.
They're at
Well,
Tim's
that's not
mom's
exactly a
wedding.
reference. I mean,
Well, I said we made another reference. Yeah.
you said, did you notice the reference?
That's totally a reference. It's a melon reference. Anyway, that was painful. So, it's at their wedding reception when he's like, I think she's crying about him drinking, and he's like, "Shut up." Melon's a bad influence on him, apparently. Um, so I guess he wasn't drinking, and then he was. I can never keep up with this guy. So after they got married, he promised and did stop drinking for a while, right?
For at
And
least a
then,
month, it sounded like.
well, and then long story short, he started again. Well, I think it's she's always crying and he's always telling her to be quiet, but it wasn't. You never heard him actually doing anything to her until Martin showed him him beating her face in while they were in the wherever the hell they were. Can't remember. He didn't actually see it happening until he showed it to him when he was on his little journey. In
On the trail.
that water that you can't touch it or it won't show you anything. The bug infested water. He showed it to him in there. What was happening at that moment?
Yeah.
So as soon as the tax man showed up, in the first paragraph, I put a note there. I was like, I'll bet he was tittering when he said it. Before before I knew it was him. And yeah, Tim says that he's playing with me. I'm just a bit of amusement on a dreary day in a dreary town. He'll soon leave on. But he breaks his toys. You only have to look at his smile to know that. Well, but he does it anyway.
Yeah, but also again, this whole thing helps him. I mean, he gets his mom his eyes back, and I guess he finds out he wants to be a gunslinger. Like,
yes, he can't be totally evil, right?
I don't know. I mean, that does feel like kind of a Joker thing to do, though. I mean,
Like, there are so many ways for you to fail, but if you do succeed, it's going to be great for you.
right. I mean,
I
that
can see
kind of
him being yeah.
like Blaine helped them, even though it was terrifying. He
Yeah,
could
and if
have,
you're gonna say somebody burned to death, maybe you shouldn't have their dead body floating in the fucking river.
yeah. Well, he's not
Obviously
a
not
good
burned.
criminal.
Um, yeah, a bonfire of dragons. That's awesome. Is that true, or did they make that up? Many lions is a pride, many crows is a murder, many bumblers is a throcket, many dragons is a bonfire. Is that a movie, A Bonfire of Dragons? It should be if it's not.
It's such a, like, I
I don't
guess
think anybody. Yeah,
I get it, but also when you say that, I just am like, wait, are they dragons on fire or they're at the bonfire?
no, that's just what many dragons are called.
No, I know, I understand.
But
The
I don't
image.
think it comes up very often because I don't think many people who see a bunch of dragons live to tell the story. Yeah, it is interesting. What's America? Kingdom filled with toy-loving idiots. There's no part in our palaver. We're a bunch of toy-loving idiots.
not wrong.
Well, I didn't say I disagreed. Definitely, I am definitely a toy loving idiot. Um, no, that's where he's, yeah, now I'm at the part. He, well, I'm sorry, I'm reading. I'm at the part where he's showing him, beating his mom. Um, Covenant Man, that's what he kept calling him. I forgot. I mean, I'm starting to think you guys are running out of shit to say, getting a little long.
Well, I felt like we covered everything already.
Yeah, I did too.
It feels like you're
Okay.
starting over.
Well, we didn't really talk about his journey a whole lot. I guess we did a little bit. So, college, what, 2.5 hours?
I mean, if they want to read the story, then they should read the story.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure we covered everything that I wanted to talk about.
Feel like we did.
I mean, we
Yeah.
even said that this book doesn't really do anything anyway. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah, after Wind Through the Keyhole, it's, or after he tells the story, they come back and he's like, oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I do have to say that the imagery when he turns into the snake is just awesome. The way he like crawled into his mouth and then like became his head. Oh my God, that would just be like almost like turning him into a human zombie snake thing. I thought was pretty cool. So, okay.
there's definitely a
I guess
lot of
that's,
classic or refined, actually, King storytelling is what I would say, because it's later, but it's like what he's best at.
yeah. Oh, um, Directive 19.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
So
our first 19, right?
was Directive 19 that she was not supposed to tell him what it was?
I think, yes, absolutely.
But then why
But
would
she
that?
told him anyway. I didn't know computers could do that.
That's what I was gonna. Just never mind. Like in my experience, I didn't think they cared that much, but
And then he turns the light on and he says, and he's like, hey, check the battery, Daria. And she's like 70 years or something. And he's like, oh, that should be long enough. And he turns it off. Like, why? Leave the damn light on. Like every time he turns the light off, the stuff in the dark creeps around the edges of him. Like, or wait, I say that right. Every time he turns the light on, all the like things that were creeping up on him go scurrying away real quick. I would never turn that thing off. Like, what a terrifying journey. Yeah, I think that's our first actual 19 reference, isn't it?
Well, at least that wasn't retrofitted.
Right.
Because there was
Well,
in
this
Gunslinger, but that
Technically,
was the versions that were rewritten.
yeah,
you can make an argument this whole book's retrofitted.
right. But we're just reading it
Um,
in the order that it's supposed to be read in.
you were on the beam of the cat and North Central Positronics, so like all the big players are showing up.
Yeah, I like that. And we saw the lion is the guardian, right?
The beam of the lion or the tiger. You were also on the way of the. This is where he starts to get a little too full of himself. So you're on the beam of the lion, or you're on the beam of the cat, sometimes known as the beam of the lion or the tiger. You are also on the way of the bird, known variously as the way of the eagle, the way of the hawk, the way of the vulturine. All things serve the beam.
Well, but
Well,
each beam has two animals, so it's just, isn't it like cat and bird is what it's saying?
does that mean there's an eagle on one end and a lion on the other? Is that what all that was about?
That was my interpretation, but I don't know. You're right, it is very confusing.
What's this way shit?
He forgot
Waypoint
everything.
9 and Saginard Swamp. See, now, like, yeah, went through the keyhole. All those stuff in the later books is starting to creep its way in with the waypoints and the Dogans and the,
Oh yeah, the Dogan. That's what I was gonna say. That's our first mention of that because I remember. I think I still want to look it up because I was like, "What? What is that? What is he talking about?"
I like how he's like, if you want to go forward, I wouldn't recommend it, but hey, what do I know? He's like, yeah, continue. He's like, are you sure? And then he's like, well, maybe. He's like, nope, too late. Now you got to go forward no matter what. Oh, there it is. 50 miles or 45.45 wheels.
What is
There you go.
that? Is that
45 and
kilometers?
almost what?
It's not, but I said, is that kilometers?
Yeah, right. I like, yeah, Directive 19. I can't tell you anything, but I like you, even though I'm nothing but a computer program. So I'll tell you anyway.
At least
I think
this
some of
time.
the computers are not as inorganic as maybe we thought they were.
I was gonna say,
No,
at least this time it was in our favor, not trying to kill them.
True.
yeah, that never happens actually. Usually the technology doesn't end well in books. Okay, so Hearts in Atlantis next.
Okay.
This is going to be like a it's about the Dark Tower and it's not, and the way it is you don't know about yet. So it's going to be a little bit of a departure, but it's an awesome story.
It really, I mean, yeah, it doesn't have really anything to do with the Dark Tower except for it tells you about one of the characters, but it's not even related to the story.
Yeah, and I don't think you meet that character again until never mind, I'm not gonna say that.
That's why I said we could almost read this. Whatever, we're gonna read it, but you really don't really need to until afterward.
We already have our list for afterward. We got the Stand and Insomnia.
That's not what I meant. Because I remember I had this conversation with you when you told me read this before Wolves of the Calla, and I was like, why? You don't even see him until book 7.
Just because of the way it flows in the last 3, you don't really want to.
I see.
You want to. There's so much different stuff that happens in 5. You just want to make sure you have that in your pocket in case you need it. And I can't remember if you exactly need it because I think there's references where you wouldn't understand maybe if you hadn't put that in there yet.
Possibly, especially with the low men.
Yeah, because there's reasons I think that, and I can't really say what they are at this point. So,
Okay.
Manny and Blackie and all that. So, all right, we good?
I think so.
So up to and including 6.
Yes. And
Cool.
2 weeks is the Super Bowl, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be busy that day. But we can do the morning if they're in like 11 again.
Okay.
The morning of the 12th.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. Is that what it is?
That's
Yeah.
2 Sundays from today.
Yep. Then that's the one.
Okay. Cool.
End of the podcast. Everybody say bye.
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 Bye.